Are you retired or nearing retirement and wondering about goals in retirement? Maybe you're wondering why even bother with goals in retirement, particularly non-financial goals. Or are you convinced of the need for goals and you're looking for ideas to help structure and formulate those goals? If you fall into any of these three categories, this video is for you. I'm Miles Holloman, and this is The Productive Retirement. On this channel, I share my thinking about and experiences of retirement, all with the objective of helping us all have a more fulfilling and successful retirement. In previous videos, I've touched upon goals in retirement, but haven't gone into any detail. Today, I'm doing a deep dive. Specifically, I'll be explaining why I believe that having and pursuing goals is a critical element to a successful retirement. I'll also be touching upon tools and suggestions for how to frame your thinking about goals. And because this isn't just a theoretical video, I'll also be sharing my current goals, as well as how I got there using these same suggestions. The forecast said nothing about rain today, but it's been drizzling on and off here in Port Angeles for the last couple of hours. So I'm taking the rest of this inside. I'll start with some preliminaries to make sure that we're all standing on the same foundation. First, our retirement goals should reflect our values, our passions, our desires. In fact, they are the vision for how we will live the rest of our lives. Second, your goals exist to serve you. What I'm about to describe should be an exciting, energizing process. I know it was for me. I define a goal as a state that we desire to either achieve or maintain, toward which effort is directed. I like this definition for two reasons. First, it highlights the role of effort. Goals do not just achieve themselves, they are merely the starting point, and achieving your goals will require some effort. Second, we tend to think of goals in terms of achieving something new, something better, something sparkly or shiny. But including the word maintain suggests that if there's already something in your life that's working, that maintaining that is a perfectly good goal. There are two types of goals. The first type I call being goals. These are goals that define your identity. For example, being a good husband, being a good father, being a good citizen, being financially responsible, being healthy. These are long-term goals. Second, there are doing goals. These are goals that are needed to fulfill your being goals. What does that mean? For example, if one of your being goals is to be an outstanding grandparent, doing goals to achieve that might include walking your grandchildren to school, teaching your grandchildren how to drive, playing catch with your grandchildren, teaching your grandchildren how to fish, reading stories to your grandchildren, or maybe just spending some time with them, letting them know that they are special to you. All of these things are things that you can do to be an outstanding grandparent. So why do I think we need goals in retirement? Let's agree up front that retirement is a significant milestone in your life. Your life will change as a result of your retirement. Some of those changes will be obvious, and some of them will be subtle. Some of the obvious changes may include a change in your identity, how you spend your time, how you prioritize things, how you approach your finances. Also, typically as we enter retirement, we're old enough to have achieved a certain amount of perspective, maybe even a little wisdom. And finally, as we enter retirement, with that extra time on our hands, it's not uncommon that we may become a little bit more reflective on our lives. All of these circumstances necessitate that we re-examine our goals in light of these changes. Retirement is about more than just playing golf, fishing, and spending more time with your spouse. A lot more. Goals in retirement can help motivate you. They've certainly motivated me. They can help focus your efforts. And more importantly, I think they can help you prioritize your resources, your time, your attention, and your money. But this isn't just a theoretical discussion. Let me share two more examples that I hope will convince you. In 2011, Bronnie Ware wrote a book titled The Top 5 Regrets of the Die, based upon her direct experience as an end-of-life caregiver. The top 5 regrets that she cataloged were: 1. I wish I had had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life others expected of me. 2. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. 3. I wish I had had the courage to express my feelings. 4. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And 5. I wish I had let myself be happier. You may be able to relate to any or none of these. But my point here is that as we enter retirement and begin to reflect on our lives, we may find that we have regrets, or areas where we wish we had just paid more attention. And the time to address these deficiencies is now, because if you wait until you're on your deathbed, it's likely too late. Let me also share a more personal perspective. But let's be honest for a second. If you make it to retirement, retirement's going to happen with or without goals. But when I think of retirement without goals, I think of my mother's life after my father died. Shortly after he died, she joined some women's groups. She made some friends. They went out on field trips. She started traveling a lot. She was blossoming. But slowly, as the years wore by, I got the sense that many of these friends and activities were falling away. A few months before she died, I had the opportunity to spend a week with my mother and examine how she lived her life up close. She went to Walmart 3 or 4 times a week for groceries, and then would go to a nearby Goodwill and shop for house dresses, though she rarely purchased any. And she would go to her doctor's appointments. Other than that, she stayed home. She watched a lot of TV, watched a lot of Home Shopping Network, and bought a lot of stuff from the Home Shopping Network. Her life had shrank considerably. Certainly a portion of this was due to her health, but not nearly all of it. Though she never articulated them to me, if my mother had any goals, they must have been extremely meager. So my point here is that without a sense of direction, without goals, your life too may become small. That's not what I want for myself, and I hope that's not what you want. Now for the process, the tools and suggestions that I have for developing your goals. But it comes with a caveat. None of these tools will create your goals for you, let alone achieve them. That's far too individual an activity, and only you can walk down that path. They will, however, help you structure and broaden your thinking about your life and your goals. So let's jump in. The first tool is the Wheel of Life. The Wheel of Life was developed in the early 1960s by Paul J. Meyer. It's a framework for assessing what's working in your life and what's not. It's basically a pie chart where each slice of the pie is a dimension in your life, and you score your level of satisfaction within that dimension on a scale of 0, for not at all satisfied, to 10, which would be completely satisfied. And then you color in the slice of the pie according to the score that you gave that dimension. This Wheel of Life illustrates someone who is very satisfied with their family and their social life, but far less satisfied with the financial and health aspects of their life. There are a number of Wheel of Life templates available online. There's even a fellow who's developed an Excel spreadsheet for this purpose. But before you rush off, let me suggest 2 modifications. My first recommendation is to select dimensions that make sense to you in your circumstances. Dimensions can include, for example, finance, health, family, romance, personal development, spiritual development, fun and leisure, community, friends and social activities, creativity, and you may be able to think of some others. My point is, not all of these will be applicable to everyone. For example, many of the dimensions that you'll find online include career. You're retired. That's behind you. It's not relevant to your future. If you're an atheist, you probably don't need a spiritual dimension. If you're the only child of an only child, you never married and you have no children, and the only family that you have is a distant cousin who calls once a year hoping to borrow money, you may not need a family dimension. Once you've selected the dimensions that make sense for you, Write down exactly how you defined them. A couple of sentences. We're not looking for an essay. My second recommendation has to do with the structure of the wheel itself. The wheel is a metaphor, and presumably, if things are scoring low, then your life is out of balance. But all the templates that I've seen have each slice of the pie, each dimension equally sized, which seems to suggest that they're all equally important. And that's probably not the case. What I suggest is that you adjust each slice of the pie according to how important that dimension is for you. As a result, some slices of the pie may be broader and some may be narrower. If you can't find a template that works for you, or you don't feel up to tweaking the Excel spreadsheet to adjust the slices of the pie, just draw your own manually. Don't worry about precision. At its core, this is a qualitative exercise wrapped in a quantitative tool. The exact numbers are not that important. So what does this have to do with your goals? Notice that the dimensions in your wheel of life should align with what I've termed your being goals. If not, go back and take a second look. Also, your wheel of life identifies areas that are ripe for improvement and gives you some sense for how important they are. Certainly a dimension that's very important, as indicated by a big piece of the pie where you've scored poorly, that's an area that's ripe for attention and goals to address those deficiencies. On the other hand, if there's a dimension that's just not that important, represented by a relatively narrow slice of the pie, and you've scored okay, that may be an indication that investing the bare minimum just to get by in that area may be perfectly acceptable. I promised to make this earlier, so here I'm sharing my wheel of life. I've identified 7 dimensions for my wheel of life: finance, health, family, personal development, fun and leisure, friends and community, and physical environment. As I was going along, I realized that these are not independent of one another. For example, I think of finance and health as foundational. If I'm struggling in these areas, I likely have less energy and less resources to devote to the other areas. Also, as I went through this process, I really struggled in some areas. Fun and leisure, for example. After 50 plus years of working, I'm still learning how to do this in a healthy, constructive way. Also, physical environment. You'll notice that that's a thin slice of the pie. I define physical environment as my home, my yard, and my vehicles. And right now, I'm just fine. And even if I weren't, they're just not that important to me. These are my scores. And I'm married, and I know that for my wife, the physical environment is much more important than it is for me. So, in reality, I will probably expend more resources in this area than I would if it were left purely up to me. And when I do so, though, it won't be because the physical environment dimension is that important to me, but rather because the family dimension is. The second tool is the eulogy tool. It's described by Lee Penn in a short essay on Medium. I'll leave a link below in the description. It's also included in Ali Abdaal's book, Feel Good Productivity, and it's dead simple, if you'll pardon the pun. What would you want your friends, your loved ones, the most important people in your life to say about you in your eulogy? When I think about this, I think about the movie Waking Ned Devine, where the character Jackie O'Shea eulogizes his best friend, Michael O'Sullivan. But because of a twist in the plot, Michael O'Sullivan is alive and listening to his own eulogy, right in the front row of the church. In the eulogy, Jackie shares how important his friendship with Michael was to him, and a bit of regret that he never fully expressed that to Michael. And he shared the value of their being able to laugh together throughout their long friendship. Unlike the Wheel of Life, the eulogy tool will not cover all of the bases that you might want to think about, but it will highlight those that you value most. If the eulogy tool is a little too morbid for your taste, and I've been accused of being a bit morbid from time to time, this is how retirement ends. Think of it as an 80th birthday tool. Same exercise. On your 80th birthday, what would you want your friends, your family, your loved ones to say about you? For me, I want to be remembered as a good and loving father and husband. I want to be remembered as a good friend who is available and a good listener, thoughtful and generous. Those may seem rather humble, but I figure if that's the way that I'm remembered by my friends and family, I will have lived a good life. So what does the eulogy tool have to do with your goals? In essence, the eulogy tool provides another opportunity to reflect on what's really important to you. Now go back and make sure that that's reflected in the dimensions of your wheel of life. I have two other suggestions for your consideration. The first I call the thorn under your saddle. Is there any issue in your life right now that's causing you to lose sleep or causing undue concern? It may be a troubled relationship. It may be a financial setback. It doesn't matter. But my point is that that's a great opportunity to have a short-term impact on your overall quality of life by addressing that issue head on. Second, think about your major obligations, particularly those that you don't feel like you're meeting now. In my case, I feel lucky because I did receive a small inheritance from my family. As a result, I don't want to just squander my financial resources. Instead, I want to leave behind some of that to my wife and my children. But I think I'm okay in that area, so that's not a major concern for me. So now let's bring it all together. You've completed your wheel of life, updated it as necessary with your eulogy tool, and the results of your thinking about obligations and any thorns you have under your saddle. So these are my being goals as they relate to the dimensions in my wheel of life. For example, the finance dimension for me is a being goal of be a good steward of my finances. What does that mean? That means to spend to maximize enjoyment in my experiences, but also to monitor and conserve my capital for emergencies and to leave to my children and my wife. The health dimension translates to simply be healthy. But what I mean by that is to monitor my physical and mental health and also to maintain or improve my level of physical fitness. The being goal associated with the family dimension in my wheel of life is to be a good husband and father. And what I mean by that is to be present and available and generous with my wife, my children, and my grandchildren. My intention here is not to drag you through all my being goals, but to highlight the structure, the correlation with your dimensions in your wheel of life, and the importance of writing down what those being goals mean to you. And now for your doing goals. As opposed to your being goals, which are longer-term goals, I want you to focus on the next 3 to 6 months and ask yourself, where can I have the greatest immediate impact on those things that matter to me most? Also, focus on those areas where you have some control. Defining your doing goals is also a bit of a Goldilocks exercise. I suggest that you limit them to 1, maybe 2 doing goals per being goal, and that you place an overall limit of 4, maybe 5 doing goals. Indeed, you may want to sequence these so that you can focus on 1, maybe 2 at a time. That's okay. So here are my current doing goals. The first thing you'll notice is that there are a number of being goals that have no doing goals associated with them. That doesn't mean that nothing's happening. It means that I have processes and habits in place that are adequate for what I want at this point in time for those being goals. For example, in the finance arena, I have a budgeting process in place. I'm improving it a little bit. I'm monitoring my investments. I'm okay there. I don't need a new goal. In terms of my being goal to be healthy, I've decided to walk 1,500 miles this year. It's not a short-term goal, but it requires short-term and consistent action. In terms of my being goal to be a good husband and father, I've decided to up things a little bit and make it a point to visit my children and grandchildren more often this year. In terms of my personal development, to have broad, well-developed interests, I'm doing that here. I'm improving my videography skills and my YouTube skills. And finally, in terms of my fun and leisure dimension and a being goal of be one who enjoys his life, I'm planning a trip to the UK later this year. And so these are my current doing goals. Each will require effort on my part in order to achieve them, whether that effort be discrete actions implementing new habits, or improving old habits. Finding the actions necessary to achieve your goals is the topic for another video that I haven't even started thinking about yet. And so there you have it. I've explained why I believe having and pursuing goals is critical to a successful retirement. And I've gone over how I developed my goals and what my current goals are. Today, I'm at the Huntington Sculpture Foundation in Copeland, Texas, looking around their outdoor exhibit area. I'm here on the occasion of my son's birthday, here to visit him. Also, while I'm at it, I'll do a little walking around and log some miles for my second doing goal. I welcome comments if you have a different way of going about setting your goals, or if you'd like to share your goals. Until next time, take care of yourselves.